My wife turned our family into a secret YouTube channel, I confronted her, and now we're in therapy fighting to save our marriage. Hey Reddit. So, I never thought I'd be the guy to air out my dirty laundry online, but here we are. I've been married to my wife, Kate, for 12 years. We've got 3 great kids, Max 10, Lily 8, and Emma 5. We're your typical American family, living in a nice suburb with a yard that needs mowing and a dog who thinks he's the king of the house. Life's busy, messy, and full of those everyday moments that seem insignificant but make up our lives. At least, that's what I thought, until I found out what Kate's been up to behind my back. Let me start by saying that Kate's always been into social media. Back in the day, it was all about Facebook, then Instagram, and now it's YouTube. I've never been a huge fan of sharing every detail of our lives online, but I figured, what's the harm in posting a cute picture of the kids every now and then? It's not like we're celebrities or anything. But things have changed, drastically. About a month ago, I noticed Kate spending more and more time on her phone and laptop. I mean, she was always on it, even during family dinners, which, by the way, I had to insist we still have. I chalked it up to her wanting a hobby, maybe connecting with other moms or whatever. But then I started noticing something strange. The kids would say stuff like, "Mom wants us to do this again," or "Mom said we need to wear this shirt today." I didn't think much of it until one day when I overheard Kate telling Max to make it look more natural. Now, I'm not a complete idiot. I know kids say weird things, and I know moms have their ways of getting kids to cooperate. But this just didn't sit right with me. I decided to do a little digging, and what I found shocked me to the core. Apparently, Kate's been running a YouTube channel for over a year now. And not just any YouTube channel, this thing is all about our family. Every little moment that should have been private was now content for her to post online. I'm talking about everything from Max's soccer games to Lily's piano recitals, and even Emma's tantrums. And get this, she's been editing these videos to make them look like we're the perfect, quirky, relatable family that people on the internet just eat up. Except, we're not perfect, and our lives shouldn't be fodder for views and likes. But it gets worse. Kate's been staging things, getting the kids to act a certain way, redo things that didn't come out right, and even scripting little moments that are supposedly spontaneous. It's like we're living in some sort of low-budget reality TV show that I never signed up for. When I confronted her about it, she tried to downplay the whole thing. "It's just a hobby," she said. "Lots of moms do it. It's harmless." But it's not harmless. Our kids are starting to feel the pressure to perform, to be camera-ready all the time. They're not even safe in their own home without worrying about whether what they're doing is going to end up online for the world to see. I'm furious. And it's not just the privacy invasion that bothers me. It's what this is teaching our kids. They're growing up thinking that every moment of their lives needs to be curated, edited, and posted for strangers to comment on. What happened to just living life? What happened to enjoying moments for what they are, instead of worrying about whether they're Instagram-worthy or YouTube viral? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I started to see it everywhere. The way Kate would subtly push the kids to do things they didn't want to do just because it would look good on camera. The way she would suggest we go to certain places or do certain activities, all the while setting up her phone to capture it. She'd even started leaving her phone on when we were having private conversations, something that made me feel like my entire life was under surveillance. One day I had enough. I decided to go through Kate's YouTube channel and really see what was on there. I'm not proud of it, but I spent hours watching video after video. What I saw made my stomach turn. There were moments where the kids looked uncomfortable, where they clearly didn't want to be filmed, but Kate kept pushing. There were even clips where I was obviously annoyed, or where we were having minor arguments, but she edited them in a way that made it look like it was all in good fun. It was manipulative, and it made me realize just how deep into this she was. I couldn't believe this was the same woman I married. Kate was always the more outgoing one in our relationship, the social butterfly who made friends everywhere she went. But this was something else entirely. She'd become obsessed with her online persona, to the point where she was willing to sacrifice our family's privacy and well-being for likes and views. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time, I needed to be more prepared. I started documenting everything, taking screenshots of her videos, saving copies of the comments, even keeping a log of how much time she was spending on her phone. I wanted to have proof when I finally sat her down to talk about it. When I did confront her, I tried to stay calm, but it was impossible. The minute I brought it up, she got defensive. "Why are you spying on me?" she snapped. "It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. This is just for fun. You're overreacting." But I wasn't overreacting, and I told her so. I showed her the videos, pointed out the moments where the kids were clearly uncomfortable, and explained how this was affecting them. But she wouldn't listen. She kept saying that I was being paranoid, that I didn't understand the community she was building. That's when it hit me. Kate was addicted to the attention. She was so caught up in the validation she was getting from strangers on the internet that she couldn't see how much harm she was causing to the people who actually mattered. And the worst part? She didn't want to stop. Comment section. Commenter 1. "OP, this sounds really toxic. If your wife can't see how this is affecting the kids, you need to put your foot down. They're not props for her YouTube channel, they're real people with feelings. Maybe try therapy?" OP's reply. "I know it's toxic, but every time I try to talk to her, it turns into a huge argument. She doesn't see it as a problem, she sees it as her community and something positive. I'm definitely considering therapy, but I'm not sure she'll agree to go." Commenter 2. "Honestly, you should take those kids and run. This is beyond messed up. What kind of mother does this? She's not going to stop unless something drastic happens." OP's reply. "I don't want to escalate things to that point, but I'm starting to feel like it's my only option. I just want my family to be normal again. Commenter 3. Hey, I think you're blowing this out of proportion. Lots of families share their lives online, and it doesn't mean they're bad parents. Maybe your wife just needs a better balance. Opie's reply. I get that sharing online is normal these days, but this feels different. It's like she's more interested in what strangers think than in our actual lives. It's affecting the kids, and that's where I draw the line. Update 1. After that confrontation, things between Kate and me were tense, to say the least. We were barely speaking, and when we did, it was usually just about the kids or some mundane household thing. The air in our house was thick with unspoken words, and I could see it was starting to affect the kids too. Max, in particular, was becoming more withdrawn, spending more time in his room, and less time playing with his sisters or even talking to me. It broke my heart. Kate, on the other hand, seemed unfazed. If anything, she doubled down on her YouTube activities. She started posting more frequently, doing day-in-the-life videos that showed every little detail of our routine. She even started doing live streams where she would answer questions from her followers and share parenting tips. I couldn't believe it. How could she think this was okay? I tried talking to her again, but it was like talking to a brick wall. She kept brushing me off, saying I was being too controlling, that I was trying to take away something that made her happy. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was losing her to this fake online world, and I didn't know how to get her back. One night, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I stayed up late after Kate went to bed and started going through her YouTube comments. I wanted to see what people were saying, to understand why she was so obsessed with this. What I found was a mix of praise and criticism. Some people loved the videos, saying how real and authentic our family seemed. Others were less kind, pointing out how the kids didn't always seem happy, how some of the moments felt staged. But there was one comment thread that really caught my attention. It was from a woman who claimed to be a former friend of Kate's. She said that Kate had always been obsessed with social media, even before YouTube. According to this woman, Kate had always craved attention, always needed to be the center of it all. She even mentioned that Kate had tried to start a blog years ago, but it never took off. That's when she turned to YouTube. Reading that, I felt a pang of guilt. Had I missed the signs? Had Kate always been like this and I just never noticed? I started thinking back to our early years together. Kate had always been outgoing, yes, but I never thought she was obsessed with attention. I thought she was just a people person, someone who loved making connections. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe this obsession had always been there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to come out. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Kate had always been the one to suggest we go out with friends, to throw parties, to invite people over. She was the life of the party, the one everyone gravitated towards. And I loved that about her. But maybe, deep down, it wasn't just about having fun. Maybe it was about being seen, being noticed. Maybe that's what this YouTube thing was all about too. I didn't want to believe it, but the more I thought about it, the more it seemed to fit. Kate wasn't just sharing our lives for fun or as a hobby. This was her way of being seen, of getting the attention she craved. And now, instead of just being the center of attention at a party, she was getting that validation from thousands of strangers online. But what really shook me was realizing that she was willing to sacrifice our family's privacy and well-being for it. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about our kids, about me, about the life we built together. I couldn't just sit back and let this continue. I had to do something, but I didn't know what. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't concentrate at work, couldn't focus on anything. All I could think about was how to get through to Kate, how to make her see what she was doing. I started researching online, looking up stories of other families who had gone through something similar. But most of what I found was just horror stories. Families torn apart by social media, kids who grew up resenting their parents for putting their lives on display, marriages that crumbled under the pressure. I didn't want that to be us. I didn't want our kids to grow up hating us, or for our marriage to end because of this. But every time I tried to talk to Kate about it, she shut me down. She wouldn't listen, wouldn't even consider the possibility that what she was doing was wrong. One night, after another failed attempt to talk to her, I was sitting in the living room, staring at the wall, when Max came in. He sat down next to me, quiet for a minute, and then he asked, "Dad, why does Mom always have to film everything?" I looked at him, and for a moment, I didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that his mom is obsessed with something that's hurting the family? But Max was waiting for an answer, so I took a deep breath and tried to explain it as best as I could. Sometimes, I said, people do things because it makes them feel good. But just because it makes them feel good doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Max nodded slowly, like he was trying to understand, but I could see the confusion in his eyes. But why doesn't she stop if it's not good for us? That question hit me like a punch to the gut. Max was right. If Kate knew this was hurting us, why wouldn't she stop? And that's when I realized the full extent of the problem. Kate wasn't just addicted to social media, she was so deep into it that she couldn't see the harm it was causing, or worse, she didn't care. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about Max's question about how I was going to protect my kids from this mess. I knew I couldn't keep letting things go on the way they were, but I didn't know how to stop it without tearing our family apart. The next morning, I made a decision. If Kate wouldn't listen to me, maybe she'd listen to someone else. I called her parents, something I'd never done before when it came to our marital issues. But this wasn't just about us, it was about our kids, and I needed help. When I explained everything to them, they were shocked. They had no idea what Kate had been doing, and they promised to talk to her. I felt a little guilty for involving them, but I was desperate. I hoped that hearing it from her parents would make Kate see reason. A few days later, Kate's parents came over to talk. They sat us down in the living room, and her mom gently but firmly told Kate that she needed to stop the YouTube videos. They talked about how this was affecting the kids, how it was putting unnecessary stress on our family, and how it wasn't healthy to live our lives in front of a camera. But Kate, she didn't take it well. She lashed out, accusing us all of ganging up on her, of trying to control her life. She said we didn't understand how important her channel was to her, how much it meant to her followers. She was crying, yelling, and for the first time, I saw just how deep she was into this. Her parents were stunned. They'd never seen Kate like this, and honestly, neither had I. This wasn't the woman I married. This was someone who was willing to fight tooth and nail to keep something that was tearing our family apart. After her parents left, Kate and I had a huge fight. I tried to stay calm, to reason with her, but she was too angry, too defensive. She kept saying I was trying to take away something she loved, that I didn't care about her happiness. But that wasn't true. I cared about her. I loved her, but I couldn't let this obsession destroy our family. The fight ended with Kate storming out of the house. She didn't come back that night, and when she finally did the next morning, she wouldn't talk to me. She just went straight to her laptop and started editing videos again, like nothing had happened. Update 2. Things have gone from bad to worse. After that fight, Kate and I barely spoke for days. The tension in the house was unbearable. The kids could feel it too, and they started acting out, especially Max. He was angry all the time, snapping at his sisters and refusing to talk to either of us. I knew it was because of what was happening between Kate and me, but I didn't know how to fix it. Then one day I came home from work to find Kate in the middle of a live stream. The kids were playing in the background, and she was talking to her followers about some parenting tips she'd read online. It was like nothing had happened, as if our lives hadn't been turned upside down by this whole mess. I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until the live stream was over, then I confronted her again. I told her that this had to stop, that she was hurting our family, and that if she didn't shut down the channel, I would take the kids and leave. Kate didn't take me seriously at first. She said I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic. But I wasn't bluffing. I packed a bag for myself and the kids and told her we were going to stay with my parents for a while. That's when she finally broke down. She started crying, begging me not to leave. She said she would stop the videos, that she'd do anything to keep us together. But I didn't believe her. I'd heard it all before, promises to cut back, to scale down, to take a break, but it never lasted. I told her that this was her last chance. If she didn't shut down the channel for good, our marriage was over. Kate agreed, but I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She was torn between her family and her addiction to the validation she got from her followers. I didn't know if she would really go through with it, but I was willing to give her one more chance. We stayed with my parents for a week while Kate tried to sort herself out. During that time, I talked to the kids, tried to explain what was happening in a way they could understand. I told them that Mom and Dad were having some problems, but that we were working on it. I didn't want to scare them, but I also didn't want to lie to them. They deserved to know the truth, even if it was hard to hear. When we finally went back home, I was hopeful that things would get better. Kate had told me she deleted the channel and all the videos. She promised she was done with YouTube, that she wanted to focus on our family. I wanted to believe her, but there was a part of me that couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. And I was right. A few days after we got back, I caught Kate filming the kids again. She wasn't posting the videos online, at least not yet, but she was still filming, still staging moments, still obsessing over every little detail. When I confronted her, she broke down again, saying she couldn't help it, that she missed the connection with her followers, that she felt empty without it. That's when I knew that this wasn't just about social media. Kate had a deeper issue, something that went beyond YouTube and likes and comments. She was using her online presence to fill a void, to cope with something she couldn't even put into words. And until she dealt with that, this problem wasn't going to go away. Comment section. Commenter 1. OP, this is serious. Your wife sounds like she's got an addiction, and it's affecting her ability to function as a wife and mother. Please get her some professional help. This isn't just about YouTube anymore, it's about her mental health. OP's reply. I know, I've come to the same conclusion. I'm going to suggest therapy again, but I'm not sure how she'll take it. She's really resistant to the idea that she has a problem, and I'm worried that pushing her might make things worse. Commenter 2. You need to put your foot down. My wife and I went through something similar with her obsession with Facebook. I had to give her an ultimatum, family or Facebook. It wasn't easy, but it worked. Sometimes you have to be the one to draw the line. OP's reply. I've thought about ultimatums, but I'm afraid it'll just push her further into it. I want to help her, not push her away. But I'm starting to see that I might not have a choice. Commenter 3. OP, she's not going to change. She's chosen YouTube over you and the kids repeatedly. You need to protect your children from this toxic environment. If you don't, it's going to mess them up in the long run. OP's reply. I'm scared you might be right. I don't want to give up on her, but I also don't want my kids growing up in this mess. I'm trying to figure out the best way to move forward, but it feels like no matter what I do, someone's going to get hurt. Update 3. It's been a month since that last update, and things have taken a turn I never expected. After catching Kate filming the kids again, I realized that this was bigger than just our marriage. It was about Kate's mental health. I couldn't fix this on my own, and neither could she. I sat down with Kate and told her that I thought she needed to see a therapist. At first, she was resistant, saying she didn't need help, that she could handle it on her own. But I told her that if she didn't get help, I was going to file for separation. I didn't want to do it, but I had to protect my kids, and I couldn't keep living in this toxic environment. To my surprise, Kate agreed. She said she was tired of feeling like she was out of control, that she wanted to get better. I helped her find a therapist who specialized in social media addiction, and she started going to sessions twice a week. It hasn't been easy. The first few sessions were rough. Kate came home angry, frustrated, and exhausted. She said the therapist was asking her to confront things she'd been avoiding for years, things she didn't even realize were affecting her. But she stuck with it, and slowly I started to see a change. Kate began to open up to me in a way she hadn't in years. She talked about how lonely she'd felt, even before she started the YouTube channel. She said she felt like she'd lost her sense of identity after becoming a mom, and that social media was the only thing that made her feel like she was still her own person. It broke my heart to hear that she'd been struggling for so long without telling me. I also started going to therapy, both on my own and with Kate. We had a lot of work to do to rebuild the trust that had been broken, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were on the same team again. The kids are doing better too. Without the constant pressure of being on camera, they've started to relax, to be themselves again. Max has come out of his shell, and he's been spending more time with his sisters, playing and laughing like he used to. It's like a weight has been lifted off all of us. Kate hasn't posted anything on YouTube in over a month, and she's deleted her social media accounts. She's still in therapy, and she's learning how to find validation in healthier ways. It's going to be a long road, but I'm hopeful that we can get through this together. I don't know what the future holds for us, but I'm not ready to give up on our marriage. We've been through too much together to throw it all away. For now, we're taking it one day at a time, and that's enough. Final comments section. Commenter 1. Glad to hear things are getting better, Opie. It sounds like therapy is really helping her. Wishing you and your family the best. Opie's reply. Thanks, I really appreciate that. It's been a tough road, but I'm hopeful that we're finally on the right track. Commenter 2. Opie, I don't want to be a downer, but make sure she doesn't relapse. Social media addiction is real, and it can come back if she's not careful. Keep an eye out and stay supportive. Opie's reply. Believe me, I'm not letting my guard down. We're taking this one day at a time, and I'm making sure she has the support she needs to stay on the right path. Commenter 3. As someone who went through something similar, I can't tell you how important it is to keep communication open. My spouse and I almost didn't make it because we stopped talking about our problems. Don't let that happen to you. Opie's reply. Thank you for sharing that. We're working on our communication, and it's helping a lot. I've learned that we can't just ignore the problems and hope they go away, we have to face them head on. Commenter 4. Opie, I think you should still consider separating. People don't change overnight, and this might just be a temporary fix. You have to protect your kids. Opie's reply. I understand your concern, and I've thought about that a lot. But right now, I want to give Kate the chance to get better. If things don't improve, I'll do what I need to do to protect my kids. But for now, I'm holding on to hope.